SPIN is an acronym, S-P-I-N. S stands for situation questions.
Situation questions?
Yeah, like how many employees do you have? How many telephone lines are there? That sort of thing. In other words, the very starting point of the conversation. Now, P is for problem questions.
Far away.
Right. For instance, does your current volume of business ever cause the system to overload? How happy are you with the size of your telephone bills at present? Oh, and there was that one you yourself used in reception, remember?
Oh, these phones. Pigeons will be faster. Take a seat for a moment.
Oh, thanks very much. You get many problems with your telephones?
All the time. It's getting worse, too.
Problem questions. Understood.
Right. Now, problem questions, they're designed to draw out information about difficulties, dissatisfactions, and concerns to reveal any implied needs that your customer may have.
Any which?
Well, implied needs. You see, your client hasn't yet said that she needs a particular solution, but the very fact that she has a problem implies that she might be looking for one. So, that's called an implied need.
Oh, I get it. So, you ask all sorts of stuff about the nuts and bolts of the company, then you check to see how happy they are with the situation, and any dissatisfaction you pick up is an implied need.
You have got it. Good. See, in a way, you have to be a sort of a bit like a doctor. Find out where it hurts.
Ow! Right, yes. And so I suppose I've got to see the problems from her point of view.
No, you've got to get her to see the problems from her point of view.
Ah, yes, of course. What about some examples?
Right, an implied need. The current system often gets overloaded. Don't talk to me about telephone bills. They've rocketed. If I need to send an internal message, it's sometimes quicker to give it to the tea lady so she can pass it on her rounds. That sort of thing.
Got it.
Right. Want to give it a try?
Why not? Right, now, Mrs. Sutherland, do you mind if I start off by asking you a few situation questions?
Not at all, Mr. Swan, whatever they might be.
Thanks. Well, first of all, how old is your present telephone system?
About 12 years.
Mm-hmm. And your business has expanded rapidly in the last few years?
Yes.
So, how many employees now? A couple of hundred?
About 100 in sales, 250 in technical support.
And how many of them regularly need to use the telephone?
Difficult to say, really. All of our telesales staff, of course.
And you're based in the southeast?
Let's explore that question together, shall we, Mr. Swan? Are we or are we not actually sitting in our HQ now as we speak?
Well, we are.
Yes, we are. And goodness me, here we are in the southeast. Small world, isn't it, Mr. Swan?
Right, so service engineers use portable computers and modem links to communicate direct with HQ mainframe to diagnose problems with client systems.
Yes.
Problem question.
Right you are.
Pardon?
Nothing. No, I was just thinking, Mrs. Sutherland. Does your present volume of business occasionally cause your system to overload?
Nice little problem question there.
Sometimes, yes.
At last, an implied need.
You will notice from our brochure that the PrizeTel system can supply you with an extra 750 lines.
Not yet! Not yet!
I'm sorry, Mr. Swan, but I think I've explained to you before, I really do not see the advantage to me of disruption and expense purely to put in a few extra lines.
Well, it's basically a question...
What? What is it?
Just excuse me for a second. What?
Look, first of all, well done. You finally stopped messing about and got an implied need. But before you make the classic mistake of dumping all the features your system provides, you must follow up with some implication questions.
Oh, for Pete's sake, but I was going really well. She was getting really interested.
Look, I'll tell you what. Imagine the whole thing as a seesaw. Now, at the moment, the customer has plenty of reasons for not buying your product. She sees it as expensive, staff will need training, and the entire office will be disrupted. Not much incentive for the poor old customer there, is there? But just one little implied need, potential overload, you see? So, you have to ask her more questions to encourage her to consider what will happen to her company if she continues to get overloaded lines. Be bold, Swan.
But all she said is that she gets an occasional overload. That's not much to go on.
Yes, but look at it from her point of view, Swan. What might overloaded lines mean in reality? A frustrated workforce? Lost sales?
Oh, I see the implications. So, ask some questions and reveal how much pain is being piled on by all these knock-on effects.
Precisely, and get the balance level. That's the next stage in our SPIN model. Now, go to it.
Mrs. Sutherland, does your volume of business cause your system to overload sometimes?
Sometimes, yes.
And how does that affect your customers?
Well, unfortunately, sometimes they can't get through to place their orders.
And does that cause dissatisfaction among your customers?
Well, inevitably, sometimes it must, yes.
So what happens when they get really unhappy?
Well, unfortunately, that's when we lose them to our competitors.
Any idea how much business you may have lost as a consequence of these occasional overloads?
Some, a little. Not too much, I hope. Thousands of people do get through, you realise.
But it could be a not insignificant amount.
Yes, it's not inconceivable that it is a not insignificant amount, yes, yes.
Would you say that as a result of an overload, your telesales people might be unable to get through to a potential client?
Well, funny that you should say that, but they have been complaining about exactly that.
And what impact might that have on your expansion plans?
Well, it could delay our product launch, for instance. But I can't consider installing a brand new system because of occasional overloads.
How am I doing?
Beg your pardon?
Mrs. Sutherland, I can offer you an answer to all your problems.
Mr. Swan, I cannot justify major changes on the basis of a few small problems. I'm sorry, but this investment really wouldn't be worthwhile.
But Mrs. Sutherland, we've talked about the overloading problem.
Yes?
About the lost orders, the near collapse of your entire company.
What?
I'm in a position to offer you a solution. Oh, you know, Mrs. Sutherland, I get touched by genius when I talk about the prize tell system. Let me enumerate its many exquisite facilities.
No, please don't.
First of all, with it, you can hold televisual conferences.
Yes, well, we don't want to have any
It
television.
monitors all preset outgoing calls and double-checks those not pre-selected. It is voice navigational in 17 languages, which means that your system can talk to their system and exchange information, fax to fax, with translation en route.
Well, I can't imagine we would ever need...
It comes in red, white, or blue.
Mr. Swan, what exactly are you talking about?
You said you had a problem.
I didn't.
Well, look, you implied it.
I implied nothing.
Yes, you did. Well, I mean, that's why I followed up with some implication questions.
Listen, what?
You were doing so well.
So what did I do wrong that time?
No, you were doing fine. You asked situation questions, problem questions, produced implied needs, and revealed a whole pile of pain by asking implication questions. Look at the seesaw. Overload. Lost sales. Frustration.
So, what should I have done next?
More questions. You were doing well, but you have to be much braver and much more patient. No matter what you're selling, from cars to medical screening, you have to help your customers to realize for themselves that they do need what you have.
Well, wasn't I doing that?
Yes, but you must allow them to do their own thinking. Mrs. Sutherland is a responsible manager. She's got jobs to protect, profits to maintain. This decision to replace her telephone system is only one of many she'll have to make in the course of a year. She's not going to rush into it. It has to be right.
I see. So I have to go more slowly. She won't be interested in my telephone system until she's absolutely clear in her own mind that she will positively benefit by having it.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Now remember, the model is called SPIN. N is for need payoff questions. Questions which you ask once you've uncovered a lot of discomfort and your customer has built up a high level of dissatisfaction with her present situation. They help you to relieve the pain. Want a few examples?
Yes, please.
Right. Need payoff questions might go something like this. Would it help your business to expand if line overload were to be relieved? What would you see as the main benefits of a system that had greater flexibility? Or if there were a way to accommodate more incoming and outgoing calls, could this also contribute to an increase in customer satisfaction?
Got it. So what are we after with these questions?
Explicit needs.
Hang on, that rings a bell.
So, if there was some way of allowing Mrs. Sutherland to express in a precise and explicit way what it is she requires from you, then you'd be willing to give it a try?
Yes, definitely.
That is what is called an explicit need. You see, they are exactly what they say. Explicit. Your customer says what she wants from a telephone system and how it will benefit her.
Now,
No more chat. Time for you to go and try it out for yourself.
Well, it could delay the product launch. I can't consider installing an entire new system just for occasional overloads.
So, can I just recap? Your system is, quote, far from ideal. Sales promotion can cause overload. Some customers can't get through, take their orders elsewhere, and you lose a not insignificant amount of business. But at the same time, because you haven't got enough lines, your telesales staff can't call out frequently enough and so lose sales. So the staff become frustrated. So as well as losing a not insignificant number of sales, you also risk losing valuable staff. Now, do you train your staff here?
We do.
So losing them would be expensive.
Certainly.
Now, how do you think your sales team would react if line overload were to be relieved?
Mr. Swan, there would be dancing in the street.
Now, do you think there would be any other benefit in having extra line capacity?
Well, we could consider the option of teleselling in Europe.
So what you're saying is you're looking for a system capable of expansion as your business grows.
Well, it would be comforting to know we could increase the size of the system without actually having to replace it.
And what would you see as the major benefit if the system had a flexible growth path?
Well, obviously, it would be good to have something that could grow as we grow. It's far too costly to keep replacing the system every time we open a new plant. In an ideal world, of course, I'd like something that could accommodate new ideas. I mean, I've actually had a rather challenging new idea of my own, Mr. Swan. Would you like to hear about it?
Certainly.
It's for a customer-to-customer exchange service relying exclusively on having a liaison department solely for HBK users. Now, I'd need a telephone facility for that, wouldn't I?
Well, that sounds excellent. Sort of keeps it all in the family.
Exactly.
Now, if you were able to cut down on personal calls, might that also contribute to an increase in efficiency in the company?
Oh, Mr. Swan, you've hit upon one of my own personal crusades here. Personal calls can cost thousands of pounds.
And also deprive customers from the opportunity of placing further orders.
Absolutely.
And so make the overload even worse.
Precisely.
So, are you saying then that your objectives are to eradicate overload and thereby increase profits, sales and inquiries, cut out misuse, start a European telesales centre and be flexible enough to incorporate future ideas without total replacement, increase efficiency and reduce bills?
In a nutshell, Mr. Swan, yes. That is exactly what I want.
Let me tell you about PrizeTel.
So you see, Doc, I feel much better about things now. Before, I used to just ask a few general questions and then try and tell them all about my product. Well, now my whole outlook on life has changed. Things are much less random than before. It's all in the questions one asks, you see, and when you ask them.
So, how many employees now? A couple of hundred?
About 100 in sales, 250 in technical support.
Mrs. Sutherland, does your volume of business cause your system to overload sometimes?
Sometimes, yes.
Any idea how much business you may have lost as a consequence of these occasional overloads?
Some, a little. Not too much, I hope. thousands of people do get through, you realise.
Now, how do you think your sales team would react if line overload were to be relieved?
Mr. Swan, there